Hi, my name is Newell Davis with Wormiculture, and today we're going to go over our compost bin. This is an update. My last update was 12 days ago. So last time, if you didn't watch the video, we added a huge piece of watermelon that was frozen, and that's the only food source I've really added other than some coffee grounds, the compost, and cardboard. So there hasn't been a lot of food added. It doesn't have a huge variety, but we're going to see how it's doing after 12 days. It was a huge chunk. That's why I've waited so long. But let's take a look at the bin and see how it's doing. So here's our bin here. Let me see if I can get a little bit better in view. There we go. So this is our bin. Let's just take a look here. Oh, lots of water in the bin here. You can see the shimmer on the lid here. It's going to actually got to drip that down into here. So there's a lot, very moist in here, which isn't surprising. Watermelon is primarily water. In fact, I think it's like 90-some% water. So I have added some coffee grounds, as I said. So a few worms in there. Not as many worms on top as I remember last time, but if you kind of rake this around, though, I'm seeing a lot of worms. Oh, here we go. A lot of worms in here. So I added a lot when I started this bin. I probably added over a pound. Now let's just see here. More coffee grounds. And here's the watermelon. Let's just get underneath here and see what this looks like. Oh my gosh, look at this. It's almost gone. That was, remember, a huge piece of watermelon. Tons of worms in there. Look at all the worms down here, too. I mean, look at this. It smells a little bit, but this is all worms down here, essentially. I mean, this is almost as if I just sorted it. It's quite impressive. It does smell a little bit, but that's to be expected from a watermelon rind that's almost gone here. And you can tell that this thing has some sort of coating on it, too. I think they usually have like a wax coating on it to kind of keep them somewhat fresh in the store. So that's quite impressive that they over that time they kind of burned right through that. Let's bury this thing again. We're actually, let's just dig up this other side here first. Still seeing, I'm seeing a lot of worms in here. Again, here's this one large stick that we have. I'll hold it off to the side here so you can see it a little better. Big stick. We'll see if it's kind of softening a little bit, it feels like. Last time it was really hard. But I have to say, though, the wood in here, there are a lot of sticks, smaller sticks in here. We'll see if these break down, too. We know that there's a bunch. So, I mean, this does feel like really good material. This side doesn't have any odor to it, really. I'm going to just dig up some of this cardboard. The cardboard is saturated on the bottom here. So we're going to dig some of that up, I think, and just kind of move it around a bit. Yeah, this is definitely starting to get collapsed together and compressed. There's a worm right there if you can't tell. So they are getting down into the cardboard a little bit, but not much. And I'm sure that's part of the reason why they're going down there. It's really wet. Still not overly wet. Let's see if we can get out the worms that are in here. I'm not seeing any more now. Let's just see if I squeeze this. Getting a little bit out. It's a little bit moist still if I squeeze it. You can hear it a little bit, and you can see that it compresses really well. So I'm going to break that back apart now. But it's definitely it's not too moist where it's like saturated with water and it's it's bad. It's too wet. So that's a good sign. Now it's also a good sign that we have water on the lid. I always feel it's easier to have too much water rather than too little. You can always add stuff to kind of dry it out, but it can be hard to really re-wet a bin once things have dried out and become solid. So I'm going to put the watermelon rind over here now in this corner. Kind of get that going a little bit. Let's just dig down over here a little bit, see what this looks like. Same thing. It's a little bit moist. More worms in the cardboard over here. I mean, there's actually a lot of worms in here. I don't know if you could see that or not, but there's actually a lot of worms in there. So there's a lot of worms working through this cardboard. I think that soaked up the juices that kind of probably seeped out of that watermelon. So we're just going to turn this a little bit here. Lots of worms in this bin. We're really trying something new here. At least I am. And I'm really surprised. One thing I have to say, I have not seen any bugs in this bin at all. I did have a fruit fly issue and a fungus gnat issue not too long ago, but I'm not seeing any bugs in this bin at all, which is really surprising. I thought it would seem some. I had some massive worms in here too. I normally don't see worms quite this big. Normally they're quite a bit smaller than that. So these worms in here are really big and plump, which is also nice, especially if you're using these type of worms for fishing and things like that. You can see there's just a ton of worms in here, though. I mean, I don't think I've ever had worms kind of clump up like this, quite like this in the past. It's probably because of the watermelon more than anything, but this bin's doing really well. Again, we're going to keep these wood pieces in here. We're going to keep them kind of buried, see if they'll break down. Overall, it's working pretty well. I did add a lot of worms to the start, so this had a huge advantage. Man, again, look at these worms. These worms are massive worms compared to what I'm used to. I'm used to having these little tiny worms like this that are really thin, and these are kind of big and plump. And you know, they look very well hydrated. You know, I'm quite impressed with this actually so far. I think this compost, I think, is just really good at kind of holding some of the moisture better than the cardboard has been. The cardboard and, you know, coffee grounds and that stuff, they tend to either dry out or be overly moist. There's no in between. So I think that this stuff is it's shedding some of the water. It's not really absorbing quite as well, but it's also making it where it's the right type of moisture content for these worms. So we'll see how this goes. I'm just going to spread these out on top here a little bit. I'm not going to add any food this time. There's still a lot of watermelon left, you know, comparatively. I mean, they still need to work into that rind a little bit more. But I bet by the end of another week, I will have to add more food to this bin to keep them fed. They're really working through that quickly. So I will have another update when I feed them again, other than these coffee grounds that I've just been slowly adding every time, you know, I kind of rotate coffee grounds that I use every day through my bins. So, but that's my update. So this bin is working really well. It's much better than expected. Let me just empty some more of this water out. There's a lot of water. No worms on the top of this bin, by the way. That's kind of surprising. Most of the time I see worms like all around the top, all around the tops here. You know, some of them, there's always a group that wants to get out. And there's none, which is quite surprising. So, bin is doing really good. I will have another update probably in a week or less with some food being added. I won't mix it up till then. I'll only just add the coffee grounds. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you're starting bins of your own. Have a great summer. Thank you.